Hello and welcome. My name is Summer, and today we will be talking about the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. We will be using this edition. It is translated, the sutras are translated by Sri Swami Satchidananda. Getting a little bit better at saying that, so if I butcher any of these Sanskrit, I am so sorry. But I like this edition. It is very easy to understand. It really makes the sutras something that you could take with you every single day, which you should. But some translations, this is a very easy translation to start with. So if you're just beginning with the sutras, this is a great one to pick up. If you have a little bit more experience with them, pick up other editions so that you can get a greater variety of translations. So you can look at the different sutras through different lenses. Because with each translation, every person is putting on their own filter with every single thing that they write. So it's always nice to see what everyone else has to say. And you can always just take what you can, take what is useful to you, and just leave the rest. So it's great to keep learning, keep studying how to improve yourself, how to improve your practice, and how to make life just a little bit more, come with a little bit more ease and enjoyment, and just be able to live this life in the way that you are meant to. So this book goes over many sutras, and so the word sutra means thread, and back 2,000 years ago when the sutras were first created, most people were illiterate, so writing everything down didn't really make sense, because then the knowledge couldn't be spread to the people. So everything was usually passed on through oral tradition, and the sutras are mostly short form, few words, small sentences that are easy to memorize. And when something's easy to memorize, there's less of that telephone effect where you tell one person and they keep changing what's being said. It keeps the integrity of what the message is as you pass the message along. So this was created about 2,000 years ago. Whether or not Patanjali was one person or multiple is up for debate. Whether or not it was a real person is up for debate. We really don't know because we weren't there. But that doesn't mean that what it is being said and the messages and the things that we could take away from it are not real. These messages, the sutras themselves, are very much applicable back then as they are now, even much so now. So pick up your copy. I'm going to link it down below so that you have something that you can follow along with. Just read it. You'll find yourself going back to it from time to time. You always just open a certain area up and maybe just have your sutra of the day and just see something to meditate on, and just think it over how this can apply to your life today and every day. Another thing to note is that yoga is not a religion. It doesn't require you to be at any kind of religion specifically. It doesn't require you to follow any specific, anything. It's just there it's a science. It's a tool, so you can really use this tool and apply it to the philosophies, to the religions, to the different elements of your life without it being like an all-encompassing aspect that is just, it's not, like I said, it's not a religion. So if anyone has any doubts, just take a look, just see what it is, and take what you need, take what works for you, take what resonates, and just leave the rest. It's really just there, like I said, as a tool. The first sutra says, Atha Yoga Nu Sanasanam, which means Now the exposition of yoga is being made. It's kind of like a declaration of, hey, now we're going to study yoga. Now we're going to practice yoga. And back then, there was a lot of schools of thought and different things being created and theorized over of how one can reach enlightenment, how one can live a better life. And this is kind of like a statement, like, this is here now, this is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at yoga. And here is saying that philosophy itself will not satisfy us. You cannot just sit around and philosophize about, oh, maybe this, maybe that. You really need to put everything into practice. So as you read along, as you learn more, it's not enough for you to just read about yoga and read about whatever it is, these different aspects. Read about how you can change your life. The change comes in the practice. Yoga comes in the practice. You don't get better at anything just by reading about it. You have to put what it is into practice. Action is everything. So take everything that you're reading and see how it can apply to your own life. Now, the second sutra, probably the most important sutra because it kind of just covers everything, says Yoga's Chitti Vritti Nirodha. And that means the restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff is yoga. And I'm going to repeat that again. The restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff is yoga. And here is what Patanjali says is the goal of yoga, and that is to restrain the mind stuff, the chatter, the monkey brain, whatever it is that you call it. Maybe you see it as a radio, tuning down the radio volume, all the chit things that are distracting. The goal of yoga is to turn all of that down. Turning that down allows you to see things more clearly, live life more openly, more fulfillingly, much more liberated manner. Quieting the mind is the goal of yoga. So yoga, when you think of yoga, what comes to mind? And for most people, it's going to be the asanas. It's going to be the postures, movement, flows, things that look amazingly human feats of acrobatics and things like that. But that is not all that yoga is about. Yoga initially started as a meditation. Most of it is meditation, coming to the mat and quieting the mind. Yoga asanas are only one of 8 limbs of yoga. Asanas are meant to help us begin the process of quieting our minds down so that we can achieve this goal of yoga of reducing the mind chatter. Here it says, if you can control the rising of the mind into ripples, you will experience yoga. You can control the mind. You can experience yoga. So what here they mean by yoga, they mean the yogic experience. They're not talking about just union itself, because I know the main definition that we see going around about just the word yoga is union to yoke. But here they're talking about the yogic experience itself. And 2 words that you're probably going to hear a lot in yoga practices, classes, things like that, is chitta vrittis. So chitta vrittis is the disturbances of the mind. Chitta is made up of 3 different elements, and Sanskrit words for those are the basic mind, or the ego, the I, is ahamkara. Now, this will give rise to buddhi, which is like the intellect. So the thing that acknowledges and gives you, oh, that is a square, that is a chair. And there's another one called manas, and that is the thing that the desiring part of the brain, the mind, that it takes sensations and feelings, and it just brings out that desire within you. So the example that they give is, for example, the manas. Manas is recognizing a smell. It uses one of the senses. It recognizes a smell coming from the kitchen. And it's like, I love that smell. And the buddhi is saying, what is that smell? I know it. It is coffee. It is cheese. It is whatever is cooking up, coming from the kitchen, right? And it recognizes what it is. It can give different points in which it had recognized it before. Oh yes, I had coffee yesterday at this time. Or I loved having Cuban coffee, whatever it is, right? And ahamkara says, oh, is it coffee now? I need to go get that right now. So it's the mix of these three things, these three elements of the mind, that they're going really quick between each other. It happens so quickly you can't distinguish between them. And then not having that coffee, that desire that's happening as all of that's happening, is creating a disturbance in the peace of your mind. And that disturbance is what we call chitta vrittis. So until we fulfill that desire, our brain is still going to go talk, and is going to possibly create some discomfort. It's like, I really need that coffee. I really want that. You're trying to create some kind of email, do the things, but your brain's still like chattering away. I gotta go do this. I gotta go do that. I gotta get that coffee. I really need to get up. So it's your mind going in overload and creating a complete disturbance, and it will not stop until you gain control of the mind. But the one thing to understand is that all of these disturbances, all of these things are coming from within the mind. The way you perceive things, the way you're seeing things, it's all based on how you choose to see things. Some things are a fact, certain things are there. Okay, so the example they're giving, for example, they give the example of a man comes to the door. You have no idea who this man is. You're just like, stranger, right? So then your mother comes and she's like, oh my goodness, that's your father. You haven't seen your father. Actually, you never met your father. So you're over here, you're grown, you're a teenager, you're 10 years old, whatever age, you never met your father before. All of a sudden, you're either happy, excited, or whatever it is. Suddenly, your perception of this person went from complete stranger to whatever emotion from there. And that didn't change that this person was still that person. It's just the way you perceived the situation. So you always have the option to change the perception of any given situation. And that is all made in your mind and in the choices that we choose to perceive whatever it is that's happening. For example, the other example that they had given was having two different prisoners in jail, and one is there as, oh, I'm bound, I can't get out, I'm in jail, this is awful, and all that. And then the other one acknowledges, yeah, this is awful, but I'm going to make use of my time, I'm going to improve myself, this is my time to go down my yogic path and become a better person. So two different people, two different situations, and different outcomes. Two same situations, different outcomes. So it's all about how you're seeing things. You always have the option to see things in whatever lens you choose to. If you see things and you see life as a very negative place, your life is going to be a very negative place. But if you start seeing things in a different light, the life can be just boundless for you. If you feel that you are trapped, you will be trapped. If you feel that you are free, you will be free. Everything starts in the mind. Your freedom starts in the mind. Heaven and hell are here right now. It all starts in the mind. You can create peace here right now, or you can make things just be completely awful. And it's all in the way you're seeing and your perception of how certain situations are. That is not to say that you cannot grieve. That is not to say that you cannot experience your feelings. That is not to say that anything that happened, that you could just like paint it over and be it, and just put on some rose-colored glasses and just pretend. The thing is whether or not you're going to allow yourself to be trapped by those experiences. It's whether or not you're going to take the lessons from those experiences and move forward in life. It's whether or not you're going to allow yourself to be in the same spot tomorrow that you are today, or see things in a whole different light and continue down your path. Are you going to hold yourself back, or are you going to go and live the life that you were meant to? The more we learn to quiet the mind chatter, the more we learn that we are free. We are free to choose to see life in a whole different way. And the more we are able to do that, the more liberty we have and freedom and enjoyment that we have in this life. So the third Yoga Sutra is Tera Drastu Srarupe Vastanam. It is the seer of self abides in its own nature. And that is to say that you are the true seer. You are the true I. And by being the true I, you know that your mind is creating thoughts and you are not those thoughts. But how is it that we fall so easily into the trap that we are the thoughts that we are seeing and experiencing? How do we forget that we're just meant to see it pass? When you walk by a building, anywhere in the highway or wherever, and it's covered in graffiti, do you say, "Oh, I am the graffiti"? No, you just experience it, you watch it, and you walk by. And you look at the clouds, you experience it and watch them as they float by. And that's very much like the thoughts. We can see them, experience and watch them float by and not associate ourselves with them. As we practice yoga, we practice meditation, we practice quieting down the thoughts that are arising, and we learn to just see them for what they are, which is just thoughts. Things are just to be seen and allow to drift away. And the only way we could see who we truly are is by doing that, by quieting the mind, by letting things drift, by turning down the radio dial of all the thoughts that are happening. When we see ourselves through our thoughts, we are seeing ourselves through basically a very muddy piece of glass. Can't see outside, the beauty of outside, if you don't clean your windows. You can't see who you really are. How you actually look like, the reflection in the mirror, if you have toothpaste all over it, if you have broken cracks in it, if you just don't clean your windows, you don't clean your mirrors, if you are in a fun house and the mirror's all wavy and funky and all that, you won't be able to see your true self. All of it is distorted. In the practice of yoga, in the practice of quieting our minds, we get the opportunity to see who it is that we are inside, the real I, so that we can experience life and see things in a true manner. But we cannot see it if we don't take the time to actually turn all the noise down. Turning the noise down, you'll experience life in a much more true and open way. The fourth sutra is Vritti Sarupyam Itaratra. And it says, at other times, the self appears to assume the forms of the mental modifications. So we grow up, and in this life, in this human existence, we like to give these labels to things because it helps us categorize things. So, like chair, table, closet, doors, or whatever it is. But we do that for ourselves too. If I start saying I'm a mother, I'm a woman, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a yoga teacher, I am a nurse, I start associating with those different things. If I start saying I am poor or I'm a millionaire, I start associating my bank account. If I say I am a nurse, I'm associating with my job title. I am whatever it is, fill in the blank for yourself. But if you take away all of those labels, who are you? Have you ever stopped to think about that? Who are you when there are no labels? Have you considered that it's a practice? Just get down to the very, very, very foundations of all of that. Like, who are you? And the more we practice quieting everything down, because our brain's going to be like, oh no, but you are a business owner. Oh no, but you are students. Oh no, but you are. Quiet the noise and find who you are. And the true self of who you are is an absolute energy, a spirit come to this world to experience this life in human form. And the more you take away the labels, the more you will see that you are not any different than someone else. You may have come in different vessels and different bodies, and you may be experiencing life in different ways, but in the true essence of everything, you are not two, you are one. And you are very much one with many different things in this life, with everything in this life. We are not separate from one another. It is these labels that have caused a division between us that just creates more problems and more strain in our relationships and more strain within ourselves. So the more we practice in quieting the mind, the more we are able to let go of these labels and see things for what they truly are. Yoga is a practice of the self and assisting the self and reforming the self in order to find a way to return to our true selves so that we may live a more harmonious, happier, more fulfilling, more loving, more compassionate life. The more we're able to change our minds, the more our lives will change. Well, that was Sutras 1 through 4 from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. I am using this translation from Sri Swami Satchidananda. It is a pretty easy to understand type of read. He does explain the sutras pretty well. So pick up a copy, read it over, and it's definitely a book that you end up keeping on your bookcase as you progress through your practice of yoga. And the more you study yoga, the more you'll understand, and you'll start to see that it's definitely so much more. It opens up your world so much more, and there is a lot more, it'll expand your asana practice, and you will just see things in a whole different light. And regardless of whatever religion you are in, you definitely use the sutras to apply it, and making your relationship to whatever you believe stronger. You will see that your life will improve when you start practicing some of these different elements. So let me know what you think. There are many more videos coming up. We will be going over the entire book over time, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of those videos. And please let me know in the comments if you learned anything, if you any of your major takeaways that you enjoyed from these first four sutras. If there's a specific copy edition of the translation that you really like, put it down below. And if you have any questions, make sure you ask me in the comments, or you can message me over on Summer Perez and my Instagram. And please just let me know if there's any way that I could be of service to you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you, and I hope you have an amazing day. Namaste.